Merry Christmas, everyone. I just finished my lunch and I thought I'd come down here and do a video for you. It's very quiet here today. Got a bit of rain. Fish in the pond. And these cats. So I hate to burst anyone's bubble. I hate to ruin the fun for anyone. But you know me, I'm all about the truth. I'm all about just telling it how it is. And I think it's important that you do know the truth when you're dealing with narcissistic people. Now I'm talking about people who haven't proven themselves over time, especially. People who are narcissistic, people who tend to be self-absorbed or lacking empathy. And that's an important thing to take note of. Pay attention to patterns of behavior that you have seen from people in the past. That tells you what you need to know about them. And trust your own perspective, trust your own intuition. Don't worry about what you see them doing with other people. Focus on what you're seeing them do around you. Because that's what's real, that's what you're seeing. That's the evidence that you have of their character. Now I know it can seem surprising, and you may welcome it, you may invite it, you may want it, you may have been waiting for it for a very long time. For them to come back, for them to come in. For them to just suddenly be this person that you wanted them to be. And it's like all of a sudden, here comes the narcissist, they pop up out of the blue. They pop up out of nowhere. They were never there before. But it's like as soon as there's suddenly like a celebration, a holiday, a special occasion, something's happening for you, it's something to be happy about, something that brings you joy, then whoop, suddenly the narcissist comes along. Because before that time, they had already drained you of your power, love, light, and energy, all things that they cannot generate from within, because they have no authentic self. And that's how they're so flip-floppy, wishy-washy. It's like they could just change very quickly. They're chameleons, they're shapeshifters, they can be anything from one moment to the next. They can just pop up out of the blue and hoover you, just because it's Christmas, just because it's a time of giving, it's a joyful time of festivities. And that's really what they're looking for, because they know around the holidays, whether it's Valentine's Day or Christmas, they know that this is a time of giving, of forgiving, of being hopeful, joyful. They know that and they exploit it. They take advantage of it. And it's the same thing with anything. As soon as you get a little burst yourself, because you will get that little burst where you suddenly change, you suddenly pop out of the fog that they put you in, because that was in your natural state. You're not normally like that. So at some point you will pop up back out of it. You will snap out of it. And you will regain your awareness, and they're waiting for that. Because the reason why you lose your awareness of yourself and your awareness of them is because they've put you under a spell where they're able to extract your power and energy from you. And it's not that they don't ever want you to come out of the fog. In some situations, they do. In many situations, they do, because they know that the moment you do, you've recharged, you've got more power and energy for them to extract. And that's really what they're looking for, because they can only get that from an authentic person. Someone who isn't a liar or a cheater or a manipulator. Someone who presents themselves honestly and openly. They're sincere, they're authentic. Because that's the only type of person that they can get supply from. They cannot get supply from someone who's being fake or manipulative. It's not going to sustain them. It's not really going to do anything for them. They've got to get that from someone like you. Thank you for joining us, moderators. The George Sentimental 87. I know it can be difficult to come on Christmas. I'm not sure if it is Christmas Day already for all of you. But I know many of you may be going through it. You may be dealing with narcissists at the moment. It could be a partner, your family members. You may be isolated, you may be alone on Christmas. And I know what that's like. I know what it feels to be alone on Christmas and New Year, and to have no one there for you. It's like you've got no one there who cares about you, no one there to share the special time with you. And I know what that's like. And I don't want anyone to go through that, and that's why I always make the effort every year to do a live, even on special occasions, and sometimes a special edition video like I did the other day. I did a Christmas special for you. Because this is a time of unity. It's a time of being together, supporting each other. But that being said, I mean, it should be like that every day. It shouldn't be like that just one day of the year, or just a few days a year, such as on Christmas, birthdays, or Valentine's Day. It should be consistent if it's real, if it's authentic. And yeah, what is consistent with a narcissist, what's guaranteed with them is that they will be abusive. They may not be that way all the time, but most of the time. You might get like 1 or 2 good days out of a month, maybe more in some situations, but it's a guarantee at some point it's going to come back around. They're going to do something stupid again, because that's who they are. But really, if we want to go deeper into it, that's not really them as well. And I know many of you may be surprised that I'm saying that, but it's true. Actually, even the abusive side of them, that's not really them. Because if we go deeper into it, think about it. Why are they abusive? Why are they manipulating you, deceiving you? Why are they doing these things to you? What is the reason? What's happening inside their minds? And what it is, it's actually out of boredom and depression, and a feeling of worthlessness, insignificance, inadequacy. And to recognize that, all you have to do is just observe their actions. What are they trying to do? What is the result of their abusive actions? What are they trying to gain from that? As you can see, it's meant to provide them with a sense of amusement or entertainment, because they're bored. It's meant to give them a thrill, a rush of adrenaline. And also to validate them, because they feel invalidated, they feel insignificant, irrelevant, and important. And they want to feel important and significant to you. They want to matter to you. So that's why they become abusive. And also, there's the power aspect. They feel helpless, powerless. They feel inferior, so they try to claim a sense of superiority over you. So even the abusive side of them, that's not really them. That's just a means to an end. It's something that they do to get the result that they want. And that's why they're so flippy-floppy, wishy-washy. That's why they're all over the place. That's why they're changing from one moment to the next. And it may be that they can't get that result by treating you correctly. Now that's typically how it is. is that that doesn't really do much for them. It may do something for them initially for a short period of time, but the reason why they don't continue on that path, the reason why they don't continue with a love bombing phase, is because they have so many insecurities. Deep down they feel inadequate for that position, for that role with you. They don't feel like they're good enough to be that way, where they're constantly validating, complimenting you, making you feel good about yourself, supporting you. They don't feel like they're good enough for that. By them doing that, by them being that person for you in your life, it triggers them to reflect on their insecurities. It makes them think, like, yeah, you may be this wonderful person, but what about me? Why am I filling this role? Someone else will be better for this. That's how they think. So they get insecure, and then that's why it no longer gives them supply, especially if you see through it. And of course, that's why they manipulate you. That's why they give you a false character. They pretend to be something they're not, because they can't be happy for you. They target you because they envy you, because they want to take from you, not because they want to give to you, not because they want to praise and compliment you. It's to put you down. It's to strip things away from you. And that's why the holiday Hoover is a big red flag. Because it's like, why are they popping out of the blue? Remember, they're predators. It's because they see something that they want. They just want to take something away from you. They ran you down. They sucked the life out of you. They sucked all of the colour, the life and soul out of you. And then when you begin to recharge, when you're looking colourful again, you're looking shiny and new, then they just want to deprive you of that again. They want to drain all of the colour and life out of you. And that's all that it is. Because they're very dull, they're very boring. There's nothing to them, they're empty. And they see you, you're so colourful, you're so full of life. And they want to drain the colour out of you, so that you become dull and boring just like them. And this is why using the grey rock is very effective. Observe, don't absorb, don't give them your emotional reactions. Be dull and uninteresting. They might just leave you alone. Because that's what they want, is that colour, that fun, that love, that light. You have that energy and power. And why do you have that? You have that because you believe in yourself. You believe that you are good enough. You have some level of self-esteem, self-love. And that's how you're willing to step up to the plate. You're willing to fulfill that role, that position for them, to be who they need you to be, because you believe that you can be that. But it's not like that for them. And honestly, when they're complimenting you, when they're giving you attention, of course, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, they're not really what you want. You'd probably much rather have someone else who was doing that for you. You'd probably much rather have someone else who is bringing you flowers, bringing you gifts, complimenting you, taking you out to dinner. Or even if you do believe in the mask, you try and picture this from their side, from their perspective, when they're wearing a mask. They're thinking, yeah, you may be falling for this mask, but that's not really them. And underneath the mask is something very ugly, something that you wouldn't want. And so underneath the mask, they're just hating you. It's just making them sick how you're falling for the mask, what they're displaying to you. Because they know that's not them. And that's why after a certain amount of time, they just want to rip the mask off and just attack you. It just makes them so angry. Especially once you start to figure them out. Essentially, it's like catfishing. Like these people who go into dating apps and social media and they try to scam people. They use fake profiles. They might put up a fake picture of a beautiful man, or maybe a beautiful woman, or maybe a handsome man in some cases, or a beautiful man. I mean, maybe a man can be beautiful as well. But yeah, they may put up a picture of that, and I would propose that as long as their target, their victim, is believing in it, then it supports the illusion. And so they're still getting validation. They're still able to exist in this shared fantasy with their victim or target. But then once the victim begins to catch on, then maybe then it will start to trigger them. Like as an example, maybe if they ask for more pictures, or like a very specific selfie of this narcissistic catfish troll person. But also, I mean, even if, maybe the illusion isn't sufficient enough to delude the catfisher. So it may be that all the while, even though, they've got this fake profile and they've got this picture of a handsome man or a beautiful woman, beneath that facade, behind the mask, that real narcissistic person must be so mad, so angry. And it's probably what they think of us. They probably think that we're selfish. They probably think that we just think that we're too good, we're too perfect. That's probably how they think about us. When really, no, it's just that we just want someone who's honest, who's genuine, who's real. And that's kind of the sad thing about it, is that if they actually were real, they were genuine, and they did the work on themselves, they actually try to be something, then maybe they could have actually had something with us for real. Rather than if they just go and fake it, which is what they do. So it's kind of sad when you think about it, but this is just what it's like. And that's how you've got to look at it. That's how you've got to see it. Even when this is happening in real life, it's still a catfish. It's still a fake profile, a fake person. It's not real. Because if it was real, it would be real. And it would be consistent. It wouldn't be wishy-washy, flippy-floppy. But what is consistent with them is the constant changing. They're chameleons, they're shapeshifters. They never stay the same. And another thing to take note of is that they can't be vulnerable. So you can quite easily be misled. You can quite easily become very confused to think that, hold on a minute, it's like they're only that way with you. But then they go off and they're with other people, and everything seems perfect. It seems completely flawless, immaculate. So you're thinking, how is that possible? Maybe that must be the real them, because that seems to be more consistent than anything. But that's the thing. Nothing is flawless. Nothing is perfect. And like as Dr. Ramani has said, the relationships you see on social media, the better it looks, the more toxic it's likely to be in real life. So the better things look for them with other people or other sources of supply compared to how it is with you, the more likely it is that it's fake. It's more likely that they're hiding a lot of things to you and that it's nothing like what you think it is. And in fact, it's probably really bad. It may even be a lot worse than what you've been dealing with them. And I know many of you can't even imagine that. You must think that you're getting it the worst more than anyone. But actually, no, the reason why they're so heavily focused on the illusion and portraying this image of perfection to you is because what they have with other people is even worse than what they have with you. And this is especially the case for those of you who are in short-term relationships with narcissists. If your relationship with a narcissist lasted 6 months to 1 year, if it lasted 6 weeks, or if it lasted just a few days, the shorter the time is, the worse it probably is for them. To where it just couldn't even be sustained with you. But it could be sustained with those other people because they're more tolerant of it. They're more tolerant of things that you would not tolerate. And yet you look at it from your perspective, but think about it. If you saw people treating someone the way that they treat you, would you accept it? Would you be able to look at those people the same way? Would you want anything to do with them? Would you not step in and protect that person? Of course you would. Of course we all would. That's what we would do. Because we do not justify abuse, and that's how you know that you're nothing like them. You're very different to them. And that's why it's us and it's them, because we are not the same. They're very toxic, they're very dysfunctional. And that's what they're hiding from you. I mean, just think about it. If someone's really that alright, if they really got no problems, then do they really need to manipulate you? Do they really need to gaslight you? Do they need to orchestrate everything? Do they need to create all of these illusions? Do they need to control, micromanage everything that you see from them? They don't need to. If someone's really secure in themselves, if they're really happy, well, not that they're happy every day, I mean, we all have ups and downs. But if they're generally alright, are they comfortable with themselves? They can be vulnerable and they don't have to control everything that you see. They don't have to micromanage everything. Just like what I do in my videos, where it's just raw and uncut. You just see me exactly as I am. And I'm not trying to prove anything to you, I'm not trying to show anything. And I'm not trying to convince you of anything that isn't the absolute truth. And that's what it means when someone has self-esteem. When someone has a certain level of self-love. When someone can be vulnerable. But also at the same time, what I would say is that you should not be vulnerable around narcissists. Because you got to think, I mean, these types of people, you expose yourself to them and they are going to harm you. So you cannot open yourself up to them. Just like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, someone robbed my Emporio Armani bag, a £350 bag, with my Ray-Ban glasses that cost me about £300, all of my makeup. They just robbed it from me. Now, if I'm going to be open and vulnerable here, I'll just put my bag down. That would be very stupid of me, because someone could come and take it again. So that's why we have to learn a lesson that these individuals are not to be trusted. You cannot be vulnerable around them. You have to close yourself off. Doesn't matter what they say about you. Doesn't matter if they call you selfish. Because you know your truth. You know that you're nothing like them. Yes, you may cut yourself off. Yes, you may go grey rock. But you're not going to do the things that they did to you. Just because you're not going to be vulnerable with them, you're not going to expose yourself to danger or harm, it doesn't mean that you're going to bring danger or harm to them. And that's the difference between us. And that's how you know that you're dealing with someone who's mentally ill. Because it's not that they're trying to protect themselves. They're not just some innocent, harmless victim. Maybe they were, yes, they were at some point in time, okay. But now they've become predators. Now they're mentally ill. Now they're the ones who are attacking. And this is what we see from all types of narcissists. At one point in their life, they were all victims. The majority of them, maybe not all, but most of them were. And then gradually, they wanted to be on the other end of it. They wanted to go from being in a helpless, insecure position to being in a position of power and controlling people. So that's what they did. And for them, it wasn't about protecting themselves. It was about harming people. Because they didn't do the work, they didn't go within. They were too lazy. So instead, they wanted to get supply from people to validate a false self that now is meant to be perfect. Honestly, whenever you see that, whenever you see someone who's displaying themselves to be so perfect, so flawless, there is something seriously wrong with them. They have a lot of problems. Because otherwise, why do they need to hide it? Why do they have to construct this image? It's just to garner attention, admiration, and validation from people who haven't sold their souls. Because you can generate your power and energy from within. They can't. They're not able to do that. So they've got to get it from you. And that's the only way that it's ever going to go. It will only ever be that way because there's nothing else that they can do. They can't do anything about it. They have to come around you and they have to rob you of your light. It's the only thing that can sustain them. It's the only thing that can sustain any of us. And unfortunately, they've now deprived themselves of the ability of generating that from within. And this is why whenever you're around them, it just exhausts you. It drains the life out of you. And it's because all they've got is a void. They have nothing inside of them. Even when it seems like they've got something inside of them, as though they've just magically become the person that you wanted them to be, that's just to garner more supply from you. Because what tends to happen is that once they've emotionally exhausted you, you can't give them any more of your energy reserves. Unless they switch it up on you, they pretend to be something else. They mirror something back to you. They give you a bit back of your own light. They just reflect it back to you. They're not giving you anything original of their own. They have nothing. They haven't got anything. They can only mirror you. If this is making sense to you, give it a thumbs up. I haven't been feeling too well lately, so I'm just sipping on this calamansi lemon fruit tea. Hopefully it will help my cold a little bit. But yeah, all they can do is deplete you. They have to drain it out of you, your energy reserves. And you just got to think about it like this. Why have they got to drain it out of you? Why have they got to get it from you? It's because they can't generate that from within. And the odds are they can't get it from anyone else. They can only get it from you. Because you're real, you're authentic, you're a truth teller. And that's where your power comes from. 50 Cent said that himself in one of his quotes, is that there's no greater power than in being yourself. And I've got to sit down now, I'm getting quite dizzy. Oh, there's a lot of gang stalkers coming around you, and you know what they do. And then it starts to hurt my head. Because that's just it, you know, we're living in the Matrix, and most people are not real. They have no soul. It may look like they're real, it may look like they have some life outside of you. They've got other things going on. It's all fake. It's all a mirage. If you could be a fly in the wall, you would be very surprised. Because most people in this world are dysfunctional, they're very toxic. They don't have healthy relationships. And they just drain the life out of people. They drive people insane. Now that's the reality of it. Like everything you see with these holidays, it's an absolute joke. Christmas is not real. Valentine's Day is not real. None of it is real. It's mostly used just for commercial purposes to make money. And also a lot of people take advantage of it to exploit people or to exploit each other. And it's just out of boredom and depression. Because otherwise it would be consistent. It would be like that all the time. It can't be like that all the time though, because they haven't got the energy. Most people do not even have a self in this world. And that's why they've got to take your self from you. They come around you and they just drain you of everything. So George says for kids, it's nice though. Yeah, it is nice for kids, you're right. It's nice, it can be nice. But that's it, I mean, it can be nice. These types of events, these special occasions, they can be nice if you're with the right company. If you're with people who you trust. So children who are with healthy parents, even though Christmas, it isn't even real, you know, it's a fantasy. But if you're with someone who you can trust, then it can be a positive experience. I mean, it's no different to anything that's fantastical. Such as if you're drinking alcohol, if you're doing drugs, if you're doing something risky, something dangerous, if you're going on a roller coaster, anything that's thrilling, exciting, a fantasy. It may not be real. It may lack substance, but it can still be fun if it's with someone that you trust. If it's with someone who has your best interests in mind and they're not seeking to harm you. And that's the difference. So I'm not knocking Christmas. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not the Grinch. I'm not trying to steal a Christmas from anyone. And, you know, I went out for lunch myself and I really enjoyed my meal. I also listened to some Christmas songs earlier today. Of course, Christmas can be great. It can be a good time. And definitely make the most of a holiday. I'm just saying that narcissists and other abusive personalities, they do take advantage of it. And you've got to be very careful around them. And they do it under the guise of fun. Now that's very important. It's under the guise of fun. So they can quite easily make it seem like people like myself who are talking about it as though I'm just trying to steal the joy away. But actually, no, that's what they're trying to do. They use fun to take from you. And that's what you've got to be aware of. That's how they get you. That's how they get you to let your guard down, to open up to them, to be vulnerable, by thinking that you're going to have a good time. When really, yeah, they're having a good time at your expense. And this is why you cannot bond with them. You cannot have fun with them, because they're looking at it from a position of power. So you're having fun and you're letting your head down, you're letting go of your ego, and you're coming down. You're humbling yourself, and then they're going up above you to have power and authority over you, to where they can then exploit you. And this is why you cannot have fun around them. You cannot be vulnerable around narcissists. You cannot let your hair down. You have to be cold. You have to be distant around them. Because otherwise they will exploit you. They will take advantage of you. You cannot let them in. They will use fun to harm you. By all means, enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy all of the holidays. I mean, the reality is that none of it's real. Christmas, Valentine's Day, birthdays, even relationships as a whole, none of it is real. It's all fantasy. It's all just something that we've created in our minds. But since the beginning of mankind, we've always enjoyed fantasy. We've enjoyed art, creativity, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually, it's a very powerful form of healing to engage in the arts, to engage in creativity, fantasy. It's very powerful. And just look at children when they're engaged in fantasy, when they're playing with their dolls. They're very happy. But then when it comes down to us adults, and we're going to work, doing the chores, it's not so happy then. So fantasy can be very powerful with the right people. And as long as it's not with someone who is using it to exploit you or to get more out of you than what they're putting in, if they're future faking, then it's no good. There has to be that equal exchange. But yeah, I'm getting a bit dizzy now. There's so many people coming around and my head is just spinning everywhere. But that's what they do. They kind of just, they walk around and they wear all of these bright colours and walk in different directions so that it pulls your energy out of your body into different places so that it sustains people. But it never lasts. I mean, narcissists, they come around, they do the holiday Hoover, they get a bit of supply out of you. It might sustain them for a certain amount of time just so they can manipulate the next source. But then gradually that will become just as toxic, if not worse. It doesn't sustain them because they can't generate it from within. So it's not going to do anything for them. And that's why typically they will keep coming back to you. But look at these cats here. Christmas cats. I think something happened to his eye. There's a nice variety of cats here. Oh, this is helping. I'm starting to feel a lot better now. It's good to have these cats here because it helps to replenish my energy. Not that you don't replenish my energy. I mean, in all honesty, when I used to read your comments on the live chat and in the comment section, it used to help me a lot. It used to make me feel much better about myself and kind of like boost me up. Because, it's that reciprocation for what I'm putting out. But now, unfortunately, because there's so many trolls on the live chat and the comment section, it's difficult to tell who is real. So even though occasionally I look down at the live chats, it doesn't help me as much as it used to. But luckily with animals, especially cats, when I pay attention to them, I say pay attention because attention is a form of currency. When I pay my attention to them, I do get a return. I get something back in exchange because, of course, these cats, these cats do not have a void. These cats do have an abundance of energy. They're very high vibrational. And so it's all of this, the nature. That's why I come here. That's why it's very important to be out in nature as much as you can. But also what happens when you're a narcissist is that your world becomes much smaller. You develop like a tunnel vision. It restricts your awareness, your consciousness, so that you can't perceive, you can't take in as much energy as you normally would. It's like your eyes, it closes your eyes down. It shuts you off so that you don't absorb as much energy as you normally would. It's kind of your brain trying to protect you. Because when you're around narcissists, they're just taken from you because all they have is a void. So what can help is to remember to direct your attention to things that you know do have value, instead of constantly things that have no value at all. And actually, not even zero value. They have a negative value. So all they're going to do is take from you. Of course, that's what narcissists do. That's why they construct this facade to garner that energy from you, which you naturally possess because you have an authentic self. But yeah, that's why it feels so heavy, so dense. It's just weighing you down when you're around narcissists. It just makes you feel so low because they're empty. But then as soon as you direct your attention towards something that actually has value, it makes you feel much more lighter, much more free, where you can actually breathe, where you don't feel restrained, constricted. And especially with narcissists, because they're always judging and criticizing you because they're very insecure, and they're always looking for ways to manipulate and exploit you because they're inadequate, they're deficient. But yeah, be very careful with these holiday Hoovers. Be very careful with them. And I'm saying this to protect you. I know it can seem tempting. Of course it can. I mean, once you've been around a narcissist for such a long time, and it's like they're just constantly draining you, they're just constantly extracting from you, taking from you, and you're just thinking, all right, when are they going to give something back? When am I going to get something out of this? When am I going to get something to replenish me? And then suddenly it's like, out of nowhere, they just pop out of the blue, and they pretend to be this character that you've been waiting for, or what you saw at the beginning. And it's only because they know you can't take any more. It's because they know you've had enough. They know they're not going to get any more out of you if they keep doing what they're doing. Or if they are getting anything, the supply is just going to be so low, it's not even going to be worth it. So they know they've got to switch it up on you. They know they're going to try something different to regain your attention so that it feels fresh and new to you, so that you're going to be more willing to invest into it. And then they'll just mirror a little back to you because they're so selfish and greedy. They'll give you a little bit back of what you're giving to them. And you'll think that you're getting something back in return, but you're not. They're mirroring you. They're reflecting you back to you, making you think that you're getting something. So you keep investing your energy. You keep giving them a supply, validating the false self. Now that's why it's only a certain amount of time until you're left scratching your head, wondering where have they gone? What happened? Because that was just a tactic, mirroring you. Because they tried some other things before that were no longer getting your attention. It was no longer getting that supply, that fuel, that power. So then they switch it up on you. They try something else. They mirror you. Because it's either one way or the other way. I mean, initially they get supply from... Let me sit down before I discuss this. So I better keep my bag strapped on because anyone could just come and take it at any moment. It's very dangerous here. But yeah, initially, right, what they do is they... I mean, of course, if someone targets you, if someone approaches you, and instantly from the very beginning, they're against you, they're oppositional, you're just going to leave them very quickly. You're not going to want anything to do with them. And they know that. So this is why they don't act that way straight away. Even though that's a very powerful way for them to get what they want from you. Especially since you are a genuine, authentic, kind-giving, loving person. You're very generous. So the best thing that they can do is be oppositional and to play you down, minimize you, to get as much out of you as they possibly can. And they know that, they're aware of it. But first, they've got to get you to believe in them, to trust them, to believe that the false self is real, credible, genuine. So first they manipulate you, and they do that by being on the same wavelength, the same frequency, acting like they're the same as you, so that you trust and confide in them. They groom and condition you. They act like they share common interests. And then they've garnered your trust. And they're getting a steady flow of attention and admiration from you. But it does do a lot for them initially, but then over time it fizzles out because that's not really them. And deep down they know it's not really them. And they're unable to sustain it because it's not real. So then they gradually become oppositional to you. They turn against you. They devalue you. Because then that's another way that they can get supply. And also think about it like this. It's kind of like, think about it like this, because I just had some tea today. So this could be a good example. It's kind of like, let's say every day for 1 week, or for 2 weeks, every day for 2 weeks, you're having lemon fruit tea. You're going to get pretty sick of it after a while. It's going to get old, it's going to become boring to you, dull, uninteresting. It's not going to give you that same lift. You're not going to get that same, like when you take that first sip. It's not going to do it for you like that anymore. And you're not going to be craving it as much as you were at the beginning. But then let's say all of a sudden you switch it up to a different flavour. You get a strawberry tea. It's going to be very new. It's going to be very different. It's going to make you feel much better than if you kept drinking the same tea every day. And it's the same thing with narcissists and their supply. They keep switching to different supply that they then drain out of you, different wavelengths, different bands of frequency. They switch back and forth. So sometimes there will be an agreement and they'll get you to validate the false self. Although once they've drained as much out of that as they can, then they will switch to a different one. Such as devaluing you, being oppositional. Because then that's going to feel fresh and new to them. And once you become aware of this, you can then realize how you can regain your energy. You can regain your sense by you constantly switching it up. And that's why you see that I wear earphones and then I fiddle with them sometimes and move them in and out. Because that's what happens when you're on a certain frequency, a certain wavelength, because everything in this universe is all frequencies. It's all just energy. And in order for them to extract the energy, they have to be on that same frequency. Or they have to pull you onto their frequency, and they do that by first, they manipulate you. They pretend to be on the same frequency as you. And then that's how they're then able to pull you off and lure you into where they're at, which is much lower than you. And then by doing that, they get this illusion, this sense of elevation from bringing you down really thin. It makes them feel like they're not that low after all. So this is why you find that by constantly switching it up, it's very difficult for them to extract it from you if you keep it moving. And that's why they like to isolate you. They like you to be alone. They like you to not have any hobbies or interests. They don't want you to have anything going on in your life. They're very possessive and controlling for that reason, to restrict everything so that they can harness this supply on tap 24 hours a day whenever they want it, whenever they need it. That's why they do that, because otherwise, if you've got all of these other things going on in your life, you've got all of these other people, all of these other activities, you've got energy is going towards, what are they supposed to do with that? They can't hop on to all of these different frequencies, all of these different wavelengths, with all of these different people and activities. It's very difficult for them to do that. So they have to restrict everything. So that's what they like to do. And yeah, they just like to control everything. But this is why you have to keep moving and just keep switching things up all the time. Because they're always looking for ways to extract from you. They're always trying to mirror you, to act like they're the same as you. Or to be in opposition to you, whatever works for them. So you have to keep changing and moving so that they're not on the same frequency on you, or so that they're not in direct opposition to you, because then that way they can't get you. But at the same time, you also have to maintain a sense of self, which can be very difficult. But that's what you have to do when they're constantly on you, because otherwise they're going to drain you. And then they're going to make you just like them. And of course, that's not what we want. We don't want to be anything like them. And you have to be very careful as well, because they could use that to criticize, expose you, to turn people against you, because it's like they've already drained the life out of you, out of your authentic self. They will be in opposition to your authentic self for a very long time. Like you're just doing you. You're just trying to be you. You're trying to be good. And you're just trying to do the things that you do, and they don't like it. Or they're just draining your energy from you being in that state, and you can no longer sustain it. So then you have to change. You have to do something else in order to survive. Because otherwise you're just going to lose your mind anyway. So whichever way you go, it's not going to help you. It's not going to sustain you. The problem is that once you do change, then they're going to call you crazy. They're going to make it out like, why are you suddenly changing? Why are you suddenly doing this? What's wrong with you? But unfortunately, that's just what you have to do. And many of you will find yourself doing that in order to sustain yourself. I mean, it's normal, it's natural for victims of narcissistic abuse to resort to drinking alcohol or using drugs, doing the wrong things, because it's what you have to do to sustain yourself. Because they've already drained you of everything you had. Got a bit of interaction with these cats. But yeah, also consider that's what happens with these people, is that they lack the power and energy to sustain their sense of self. That's why their sense of self is so fragile. The chameleons, the shapeshifters. Because they lack the power then to do that, and now they need to use you as a vessel. And essentially they use you as a life support machine. You're like a pump for them. You're like an extension of their hearts to pump the blood through their veins around their body. That's what you are for them. And that's how you find when you're around them, you feel stressed. What happens? Your heart rate increases. Your body temperature increases. You may experience palpitations because they cannot sustain themselves. They're very weak people. They fail to hold on to their character. They gave up on themselves. And that's why they then became chameleons, shapeshifters, abusers, predators, because they were too weak to sustain themselves. So they then became something else, and now they need you. And that's why whatever you see from them, it doesn't matter. The only thing they can do is take from you. It's the only thing they can do. And even when it seems like they're not taken from you, they still are. They're just mirroring you. And this is why we see people who struggle. They have heart problems, schizophrenic traits. It's like they just can't even perform just natural bodily functions. They can't even it's like they may use word salad. They can't even speak full sentences, proper words. They can't think clearly. They get panic attacks, seizures, all of these things, and they have these twitches. They have involuntary actions that they can't control, tics, because they're with someone who's very weak, who sold their soul, who has a fragile sense of self, and wants to portray a false image to people. And of course, in order for them to do that, it needs energy. And that's how some people begin to brain dead, because of these types of people. And yet they're the ones who look crazy. And yet this is how we live in such a fake world, with people who are not who they say they are. And this is why you've got to be very careful around these people, because they will use you, they will manipulate you. They want your soul. They want your energy. They want your life force, because they haven't got any of their own. If they did, then you would feel good. You wouldn't feel bad. You feel bad because they haven't got it. That's why you experience all of these negative health symptoms, these illnesses. Because they're constantly taken from you. And this is how, when they do that, they get this duper's delight. It gives them a thrill, actually. Because you're supplying them, you're giving them fuel, you're giving them parts of you. And then they go off in this delusion, thinking that they are you when they're not you. They're just lying to themselves, and they're getting other people to validate it. You are you just, people may not be able to see it. And that's why you will typically find the most peace and fulfillment when you are alone. Because as long as you see it, that's enough for you. But yeah, this is why they're this way. This is why you will get a holiday Hoover from the narcissist. Because they know that you've had some time to recharge, to restore your energy, your power, that they can't generate for themselves because they use a false self. They're not real people. And because everything you see from them with the new supply, it's all a lie, it's all fake. I mean, honestly, think about it. If they had things going good with the new supply, what would they need you for? Why would they be watching you, stalking you? Why would they be abusing you, exploiting you? They wouldn't be doing any of that. They do it because they feel depleted, because they're bored, depressed, insecure, miserable. Of course they would be. You really think people can do things like that and be happy? They can't. People who do these types of things will never be happy. It will never happen. There will always be miserable people. They're never going to be looking to give or provide anything to you or share anything with you. That's just never going to happen because they're never going to have anything to give or share. Because they can't give anything to themselves. They have no self. They're pretending to be something they're not. It's just they manage to fool you initially because you're given to them, and then they're able to mirror back to you, making you think that what you're seeing is real. Because it may feel real. But just because it feels real, it doesn't mean that it is real. anything can feel good initially. It depends on how it feels over a certain amount of time. Well, as for us, unfortunately, it is the opposite because we're not master manipulators. So, to some people, it may appear as though we could seem insecure, awkward, uncomfortable. We could appear that way initially, and it could seem like something is off at first, but it's because we're just real, we're genuine. We're just real people, and we're not good at orchestrating things. But then once people get to know us and they spend enough time around us, then they start to see that we're all right. Well, it's the opposite with narcissists because they may seem great at first, but then gradually they start to reveal their true self. And then you see that something isn't right. But yeah, I mean, it's not good to always base things off first impressions. Unless, of course, there are exceptions to that rule. I mean, sometimes it can be good to base things off first impressions, depending on what a person is doing. Such as my first impression of someone the other day would have been that they stole something from me. Now, that's something you can base off a first impression. And another thing you can base off of first impressions is who people are associating with. I believe there's a quote that says, show me who your 5 friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. And there's definitely some truth to that. Because if you're a certain type of person, you're not going to be associated with people who are very different to you. Birds of a feather flock together. Or at least you're not going to associate with them over a long period of time. But just look at the friends of these narcissists. And I mean the friends that they spend the most time with. They're not good people. Yes, they may have some good friends, some people who are just genuine people, and there may be nothing wrong with them. But they don't spend that much time with those people. They're not around them that often. Because they're just presenting a false image to them. And maybe if those people knew what the narcissist was really like, they wouldn't be around them. Or in some situations, they may just not care. Such as with secondary sources, they may be getting some benefits out of it. And it doesn't really affect them, like what the narcissist is really like. It doesn't matter. Because all they care about is that they're going in, they're getting something out of it, and then they're out of there. And there's no collateral damage on them, so what does it matter? So that's a third option as well. I'm just spitting these truth bombs to you today. Christmas Day. Merry Christmas 2024. Got all the fish here. All different colours. What colour fish do you like the most? Let me know in the live chat. Do you like the goldfish? The orange one? Well, there's a few different golds and oranges. And white. Almost like a silverfish, that one. Let's see where we go here. The Jord likes the red fish. Sentinel 87 likes the orange and white. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I see it. The orange and white there. Hazel Oldham likes the yellow. Is it yellow or gold? Shay likes the orange. Brana X2 likes the orange. The Maori publication says that's pretty, the river and fish. Kempsa Gamer says an adrenaline response because they get off in it. They do get off in it, yeah. They love to push your buttons. They love to get reactions out of you. They love to get that adrenaline pumping in your veins because, I mean, think about it like this, right? You're their source of supply. They're like junkies. They're hooked on you like a drug. You're their life force. So, essentially, you're like an engine. And they're like the car. You're the engine, and they are the car. So they just want to put their foot down. They want to run that engine to the max. You know, they want to pump all of the fuel into them, out of you. Because your body, your soul, like your life force is powering them. So they just want to max it out. They want to get as much out of it as they can. And of course, to do that, they're just constantly pushing your buttons, provoking you as much as they can, getting whatever reaction they can. And they're just doing anything they can, whatever works. It's like they'll push one button, they'll push it again and again and again. It's kind of like on those old computers, those old video games. Like on the remote control, you push the button so many times. Like, it just stops responding. You don't get any responses out of it anymore. It just freezes. It's busted. Then they got to push a different button. They just keep pushing that. Maybe the button breaks. Then they got to push another button. They're going to pull another trigger on the control. And they're just trying to max it out to just get whatever response they can out of you. Like they're just trying to run it up and get, just max you out for all you're worth. Because you're such a potent source of supply, they never know when they're going to get that ever again. So they become very greedy, very selfish. They just want to max you out. Get all of your reactions, just all of that fuel to supply them. And of course, because they lack empathy, they're not thinking about you. They're not worried about what are you going to do after that. How are you going to take care of yourself once they've drained the life out of you? They don't care. Because all they can think about is that they're struggling to survive. They can't take care of themselves. And they just have no moral compass. So they just want to drain the life out of you, everything you've got. And once they've drained it all out of you, what do? They discard you. They just get rid of you. And then they come back again once you've recharged. That's why we see the holiday Hoover. because they see it as though, that's a good time for them to come back. They see it as though it would be easier for them to manipulate you around that time. It's grooming, conditioning. They use it to lure you back into the abusive cycle. And that's what you've got to be aware of. "88 live viewers, if you're finding this helpful so far, give it a thumbs up. I'm just giving it all to you right now. It's Christmas Day. I'm out here. Of course, my head is spinning. You may have noticed when I first got out of here, there was no one here. Now it's suddenly a very busy area. There's a lot of people coming around here now. In every direction. Cars, everything. When I first got here to film this video, there were no cars, no people. Now it's a hotspot. But this is it. When you've got that supply, you're a genuine, authentic person living in a world with so many fakes. People want that. They want to get that from you. Because they can't generate it from within. They can't create it on their own. And that's just how it is. Again, it's really draining for me, but I'm just staying on here for you, and I'm giving you this information, supporting you through the holiday, because I know there's people out there who are struggling right now. I know there's people who haven't got anyone, people who are in a similar situation to what I was going through, where I lacked self-awareness. I had no real sense of self at the time, because it was all just drained out of me. I didn't know who I was. I was lost. I was lonely. I was insecure. It wasn't naturally that way, of course. It's because of what was done to me by the narcissist. But God, I just needed someone there. I needed some validation. I needed someone to pump me up. And in some ways you can get confused and mistaken, thinking that it's like it's you who's the narcissist. You need supply. But no, it's because you've been abused, gaslighted for such a long time. You've been deprived of attention, starved of affection, which we need as humans to survive. You can't survive without that. So it destroys you. And you just need someone there to build you back up. And I know what it's like, because there were so many Christmases, New Year's, birthdays, I had no one. No one was there for me. And I've spoken about my story in a past video. I didn't say all of it. But I've experienced some real struggles, some real injustice in my life. And it would shock some of you, even after what I've said already. Some of the stories, I think it would blow your minds if I told you all of it. The things that I had to go through. How I was starved of my basic needs. And just constantly watching everyone else get what they wanted. And that's what I had to go through for a very long time. And no one deserves to go through that. Even if I had a worst enemy, I wouldn't want to put them through that. I can't watch anyone going through that kind of torture. It's inhumane. Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what they've done. If I saw someone going through that, I'd have to step in, I'd have to stop it. Because, I'm an empathic individual, I just couldn't accept it. And of course, that's why I do what I do. Even though many of you, I don't know your background, I don't know your story. And, I don't know who's watching this, I don't know what's going on with you specifically. But despite that, I'm still here for you. And, I hope that most of you are genuine. I assume that you are. Of course, I know that there are going to be some covert narcissists who are watching this. who may lack self-awareness, and they may just be using this for supply rather than taking it as something to help them to do the good work and to reflect on themselves. So, but that's not what this is intended for. It's not intended to just blow up people's egos and just make them feel special. Even though, yes, we are all special, but we're special for being who we are. But yeah, just make sure that this is directed to you. Let it serve you, let it heal you, this message. That's what it's intended to do, because this is coming from my soul, not my ego, not a need to feel important. And, if I wanted to appear important or attractive to people, I would portray myself very differently. For me, it's just about giving you part of my soul to uplift you. Again, of course, I assume that most of you are genuine victims, although, unfortunately, there's always going to be some covert narcissists who are posing as victims, and I'm sure many of you may have seen some of the things, the trolls in the live chats. But yeah, I know there's many of you out there who haven't got anyone. You're on your own, you haven't got support. And at this time of year, they promote togetherness, family, relationships. And if you haven't got anyone, and that's why I really just want to be a friend for you. Voice for you. Because, I've been through a lot of things before. And it's not so much that I regret it, I just hope that I went through all of those things so that now other people don't have to. Or at least so that they don't have to go through it to that extreme. And that's really what I wish for you. I hope that my experiences make it so that it doesn't have to be that bad, that intense for you. And so, my suffering isn't in vain. Because me going through it, now I can use my experience to help you so that now other people don't have to suffer as much as they otherwise would have had to. Because sometimes that's the worst part of it, really, is not having the awareness of what's happening. Not realizing what they're doing to you. I don't know if you've seen that 1940s movie, Gaslight, where this woman's husband is playing with those old lights, that are lit by gas, and he's altering the flames, turning them on and off, while telling his wife that he's not doing it. And it makes her think that she's losing her mind, that she's got no support, no one there for her. There was no internet back then, no YouTube, no ChatGPT to help her. So just imagine the horror, the confusion that people experienced back then. We're lucky now we've got all of this support. Other people have gone through this so that we don't have to experience it to that extreme. Because honestly, for a few years, before I found out about this, before I knew about narcissistic abuse, I really went through it. I had no one there for me, I had no support, and everyone was against me. I went through the worst of it. Because I had no information, I had no videos to watch, I wasn't aware of it at the time. And it was a horrible experience. But luckily, I got through it. But I'm here now to share my story with you. I'm here now to help you, to comfort you, to support you. Again, let me know if you have any questions in the live chat. I'm just sitting down with these cats. They were quite afraid of me at first, but now I think they trust me now. They're all just sleeping. '86 live viewers, give it a thumbs up. Shay says, redirect the focus back to self and watch miraculous miracles happen in your life. Do the shadow work, go deep, get the knowledge. That's right. I mean, nothing really happened for me in my life, and just all of my friendships, relationships, just my career, everything was just destroyed. I had no one, nothing. Because all of my energy and attention was directed to people who had nothing to bring to me. They just had a void. But as soon as I was isolated, alienated, I had no one, and I was just by myself, and I just directed that energy and attention to myself. Then I created something wonderful. I created this community, and my TikTok, my website, and that's because we have a lot of value. That's why they targeted us, because we have so much value. All they have is a void, and they deprive you of everything that you naturally possess, because they have no value of their own. So getting a right shape, you just got to take that energy, that attention that you're giving to them, and just redirect it back to yourself. And don't listen to what they've said about you. They may have put you down, just ignore it. You validate yourself. They're wrong. They're just projecting how they feel about themselves onto you. Because deep down they know they're no good. Graham Whiten says, thank you, mate. You're very welcome, Graham. Morning Ed says, your info shaped my path. Happy holidays to you. You're welcome, Monica. Hazel Oldham says, I want to get a cat. Yeah, I definitely recommend getting a cat. Oh, this cat just came to sit by me. I think they trust me more now. They seemed quite scared of me at first. But yeah, I definitely recommend getting a cat. It can be very helpful for your healing. I had Nala there to support me. And She's travelled with me to several countries as well. As I had Nala before I began the channel. It wasn't that long after that I had Nala that I then began researching about narcissistic abuse. So, yeah, I mean, I can't remember the name. Yes, that's it. There's a psychologist, Daniel Meckler, who's on YouTube. He's very good. He spoke about how, sometimes what we need after going through abuse, after being around so many fake people, we just need someone to give us their self, to see us, to acknowledge us, that we are there, that we exist. And that's a big part of our healing. And that's what a cat can do for you. Even just a pet, they can reflect you back to you. They can see you. And that can be very healing. Because of course, when you're around fake people, narcissists who have no self, they can't validate you. They can't see you because they can't even see themselves. They have no self. It's not just that they have a suppressed self, it's just nothing even there. So the more that you're around them, the more that you lose your self-awareness and your sense of self. Which is why you're better off just being around animals. Just get a cat. Your cat will see you, validate you, make you feel grounded in your body. It helped me. It helped me enough to where I then began my journey of research, and so I definitely recommend getting a cat. Very loving animals. Got this cat here. Just sitting next to me. He likes to be close to me. But I was watching a video recently about human. I lost the battery of my earphones. So I was watching a video recently about human history, and it was about a long time ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when there were predators that ate humans, and one of the main threats, one of the main predators, were actually big cats. They were one of the main animals that would hunt us down and eat us. And obviously now at this point, many of those big cats have gone extinct. And somehow they evolved into these. But I don't know, I mean, it just seems that it's supposed to be that way. It seems that we're meant to just generate more internal strength instead of just being these hardcore predators. That seems to be the message. That seems to be the idea of it all. That seems to be what we're meant to figure out. Is to seek love rather than power, because otherwise, how else can we evolve? And how can we get to the stars? We can't unless we cooperate, unless we work together. I mean, that's really the only way. As long as there are predators exploiting people, I mean, it's just taken away from us. And seeking power just ends up to be self-destructive more than anything else. So that really seems to be the situation. I mean, and that's why perhaps a long time ago there were some very ruthless predators. I mean, we had the dinosaurs. And what happened to them? They just went extinct. They didn't even survive. And the funny thing is, if you put, as humans, if you put us back there when the dinosaurs were alive, we'd probably have a much better chance at survival. By cooperating, working together, makes us stronger than those giant dinosaurs. Especially what humans could have become in the next century. Because that's just it, by sharing information, that's what makes us stronger. That's what gives us true power. It's the power that comes from within, that we share together rather than what we just take from someone. But yeah, that seems to be it, is that we are meant to evolve and just reach the stars. I don't know how I ended up talking about that. I think it was from one of the comments here. At the same time, I'm also just trying to distract myself from everything that's happening around me. So then I kind of, I just end up talking about something random, just, you know, to distract myself. Because then I get quite anxious. Yeah, he had a little twitch then. But he's okay. Osmosis, there's a splendid documentary I've seen from two delightful women in Scott about cat significance in ancient Egypt. No, you are right. Yes, there is some significance in ancient Egypt regarding cats. I don't really know that much about it. I haven't really researched too much about that, to be honest. I believe that there were some cats that were gods, maybe. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's worth looking into. Let me put my hood up because it's raining a bit up here. I'll come out this way because there's a lot of people gathering in there. So all the people are gathering there. I'm going this way. See how long it will stay quiet over in this area before it rains. There we go, the sirens. I've actually travelled about 20 minutes away from where I was yesterday. Because of all of those sirens, I know it was like, must have been about 200 sirens a day, and just the horns. I don't know, like 1,000 horns every day. It's just crazy, so I thought I'd come down this way to try and get away from it all. Because obviously all that noise, it really just has an effect on your mind. Fuzzy1 says narcs rely on targets being nice and loving suckers. So love the ones who love you. Yeah, that's it. They take advantage of your lack of awareness. They trick you. They trick you into you giving your validation and power to them. So they target good people. But they know fully well that they do not belong around good people. And that's why they see good people as the enemy, the opponent, people who they have to dominate, they have to destroy you. Because they know they don't belong around you. They know they're not the same as you. But yeah, they have to deceive you. But they're never going to love you. They love reflections of themselves, extensions of themselves. That's how they glorify other predators, other abusers, other criminals. And I've seen that myself. I mean, I've seen some horrific things in my own experiences. I remember this, I was watching this one movie with my ex, and it was shocking how, this was many years ago now, but there was this man, and he seemed to be just a good guy, like he was really working hard to provide for his wife. And then as the story developed, it revealed that she was cheating on him. She was having sex with another man at the back of a car. And my ex that I was with, she was pretending to be such a nice person to me. But then she appeared to side with this woman because this woman seemed quite extravagant, glamorous. Like she seemed to idealize this person. She viewed her as an extension of herself. So even though this woman, who initially appeared quite classy and wealthy and sophisticated, she saw this person as an extension of herself. And then she still justified it when this woman cheated on her husband with another man in the back of a car. And then it got even worse. This woman was clearly a psychopath and then plotted to murder her husband, who did nothing wrong, was just providing for her. And I was just sitting there thinking, I was just like, what? You think that's acceptable? And then she was just justifying it. But this is what they do. They associate with people who are like themselves. They glorify other abusers, other criminals. They look down on good people. They're not like us. They're nothing like us, and they know that. That's why they view us as their enemies, their opponents. They despise us. They despise good people. And that's how they typically hide. Unless, you know, they're more overt. If no one's ever stood up to them, no one's ever held them accountable, then they're not going to hide it. Why would they hide it? No one's ever told them that they're wrong. So they've got no reason to hide that. But yeah, I come over here now, there's a lot of people here too. It's very difficult to be alone. Amos Moses says, when I feel a bit sad and lonely, I find comfort in history. You know, I find that interesting because looking back at history, I mean, you know, for me, from my perspective, it was actually quite barbaric, quite violent, gruesome. I feel that in history, we as humans, we did a lot of things wrong. But then, of course, at the same time, I mean, it got us to where we are today. But there were just so many messed up things that happened back then. And, you know, what really comforts me is researching about advanced civilizations that may exist somewhere in the universe, or the potential advanced civilization that we could become. If you research about like a type 1 civilization, for example, which is where we are, it's where we're able to harness the I think it's the energy of our planets. And then a type 2 civilization is when we can harness the power of the sun. So that, you know, that's what motivates me. You know, that's more just the way that I'm wired, really, is more towards just genuine growth and health. You know, just moving things forward. And, you know, I am interested in history. You know, I'm fascinated about how things were back then, when we were just not as educated. But for me, I just see it as something to learn from more than anything else. But yeah, I find that interesting that you say that history comforts you. I'd love to know more about that. Starting to attract a bit of attention this way. Mark Cunningham says, where in the world are you? Right now I'm in the Philippines. I've done videos in this park before. I think the last time I filmed here was about 7 months ago now, 6 months ago. This is Washington Sister Park in Makati, Philippines. That is the name of this location. So this is a real place, it's not a fictional place. It actually exists. But yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that, because I noticed perhaps the past week that I've been unable to share the location, the filming location of my videos on YouTube, and I'm not sure why. Maybe you noticed that as well. But I'm going to look into it and see what's gone wrong, because it seems like it has affected the views by me not mentioning the filming location. George says, I've always wondered why some people glorify criminals, mainly the women glorifying the bad criminal guys. Yeah, they see them as an extension of themselves. They see it as a source of power. And typically that's how it was, you know, back in the tribal days, is that these, you know, when you've got a group of people, you've got a community, unfortunately that's the way it is. When people bond together in a group, it's seen as weak. Women see it as weakness. They see it as though, why have you got to have all of these people together? They look at the lone wolf, the outsider, as though that guy is strong because he's a survivor. He's surviving on his own without any supports. Even if he is a bad guy, even if he is a criminal and he's stealing from the group, they still see it as though he's still surviving. But, you know, it's a very warped, sick mentality, and it may have made sense back then, but it doesn't make sense today. And, you know, what we should value is honesty and authenticity. That's what women should value, but of course they are conditioned by the media to look for these bad boys. But the reality is, you know, what they really want is, not all women, of course, but a lot of women, they want that alpha bad boy just so that they can turn him into a beta male. Just so they can turn him into their bitch. That's what they want. That's why they're attracted to him, that's why they're drawn to him. Just so they can turn him into their puppet. That's their ultimate fantasy. And of course, as soon as they do that, they don't want him anymore. But that's what they're going to do. Because to them, that means that they're powerful if they're able to achieve that. Because of course, the alpha bad boy, he's so, you know, he's so like independent, so resistant. He doesn't need anyone. So for them to get him dependent on the woman, and then for the woman to switch it around on him and then she doesn't need him, it makes them feel powerful. And of course, naturally, women feel helpless and insecure, so if they're able to achieve that, it's a source of power for them. But yeah, that's pretty much how people see it, is that they see criminals as being powerful. They're not powerful. They're powerless. They gain power from their victims. The victims are the ones who have the power. The victims have the power, not the criminals. The criminals haven't got any power. If they had any power, they wouldn't be criminals. It's just people, they get it mixed up, they get it confused. They think that it's the criminal who has the power. The one who gains power over a victim. But that's wrong. Because where are they getting that power from? You have to give your power to them. Without you, they haven't got any power at all. So we are the ones with the power. The victims, the ones who have been abused. And that's how, when we take that any energy and attention that we were giving to them, when we put that back on ourselves, what happens is they begin to go down and we begin to go up. Things get better for us. Things don't get better for them. And that's typically why they run smear campaigns and they create these criminal networks, because then they have more control when these criminals stick together. And of course, that's why we've got our support groups as well, to help each other to heal and protect ourselves from them. That's the difference. Amos Moses says, I entertained the maggot brain of a dog's dinner too long. Kept waiting for him to do something else. Never happened. Yeah, that's what these people are like. I mean, that's an excellent description. They are maggot brains. They are just absolute dumbos. They're brain dead. There's no sense to them at all. There's nothing to them. They're absolute airheads. Knuckle skulls. Knuckleheads. They're like something out of Beavis and Butthead. That's what they are. And that's why they're always on you like pests. They can't leave you alone because they're trying to... It's like they're trying to harness your brain cells because they haven't got any of their own. There's no sense to them. They have no intelligence. It all comes from you. Anything that they have comes from you because they're completely brain dead. There's nothing to them. So again, that's a brilliant description. That's exactly what they are. Their power comes from you because they're just absolutely stupid. They are pretty much just stupid people. And even Professor Sam Vaknin did a video on that. He mentioned how narcissists and even psychopaths, they're just stupid. They're really stupid people. If they were smart, they would not be narcissists or psychopaths. I'm still getting chased around here a bit. I'm just trying to find some quiet space. Oh, we got more cats. Kittens as well. Hello. Coming to see me. Look at these. They're beautiful cats. I like the colour. Enjoy the scenery, the nature. Let the sounds heal you. The motion of the fish. The natural movements. You know, that's what we need, is just nature. Because when you're around narcissists, it's all artificial. It isn't real, it's fake. They can't just be natural. They can't be real. And that's how it's so damaging. That's how it just pulls you out of yourself. But when you come around nature, it's just normal, it's natural. It just is what it is. And that's how it's very healing. But with narcissists, I mean, you know, they're predators. And they're always just trying to catch you. So they've always got these cues, you know, these signals for you to attune to them. And, you know, just bait, you know, to try and just get you to give to them, because they have nothing, they're empty. And it's all just to make you think that they have something so that you can then invest into them. Or it's like, no, You should not invest anything into them. They have nothing to give back to you. All they can do is take. That's the only thing they can do. They're empty vessels. They have nothing. Look at this. These cats are eating. These cats are having their dinner. Yeah, I just like to walk around here and see the plants. Eddie Wynn says, LOL, harvesting brain cells. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, they don't have any brain cells. I mean, I'm sure many of you will have noticed this. It's a pattern with these types of people, with narcissists. You try and talk to them, you try and have a conversation. They just can't do it. They can't go deep. They can't expand on anything. And you get around them and it's like, you feel like you're becoming a numbskull just like them. Because they're brain dead. There's just nothing to them. There's no sense to them. And they make you into them if you spend enough time around them. They make you crazy. You develop schizophrenic traits. You can't speak full sentences anymore. You can't make sense of anything. You become very confused. So they end up making you look like a weirdo as well. And that's how it was with me. It's like I didn't know who I was. I couldn't talk properly anymore. And that's why you just got to avoid them. Don't spend any time around them. Go no contact. They will make you just like them. They're absolutely stupid, brainless, mindless people. They must have a very low IQ, a very low level of emotional intelligence. And of course, you get around them and that rubs off on you because suddenly intelligence is no longer relevant. Now it's just all about emotions. It's all just, it's just stupid behavior. Just clowning around. It's like a circus. But they want your brain cells, they want your intelligence because they're stupid. But yeah, they all want that from you. I mean, you just got to think, you know, what do they come around you for after you've already been depleted? You've already lost out. You've already had it taken from you. And they're coming around you for what? They're not coming around you to share with you. They didn't share with you before. They're coming around you to take your energy. They're coming around you to take from you. To take your power, your life force, because they have none of their own. They haven't got anything. They're empty. They're lifeless. Because that's just it. If you have the power, if you have the energy, you can make things better. You can make things right. You can seek a sense of resolve. That's what happens is that once you reach a certain level in life, you then have the power to stop holding resentment, grudges, stop blaming people. To want to create a sense of togetherness. They will never reach that point. That will never be a reality for them. They will never develop the strength, the awareness. They will always be stuck. They will always be that way, and they'll always just be manipulating, using people for their energy. That's all they'll ever be able to do. They'll only ever be able to trick you because they're just not real people. They're empty. They have no sense of self. There's just nothing there. And that's just what we have to realize. That's just what we have to accept. All they can do is take from you, and at the same time they will never be you, because they're not genuinely trying to learn from you. They're just trying to steal from you and to present themselves as though they are you, but they're not genuinely trying to learn and be better. They're just trying to steal and take credit for your success. And that's why the only thing you can do is avoid them, because they're going to keep doing that. And they may be fooling other people, or other people may not care. You don't have to worry about that. Just worry about protecting yourself. The George says 2 brain cells fighting for freedom. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it does appear as though they just don't have many brain cells. It does appear that way. And that's why they engage in such stupid behaviors. And there's nothing that they can do about it. They're stuck that way. They're like cavemen. It's like Dumb and Dumber. It's like Captain Caveman. They're really stuck at that, like in the state of just being a Neanderthal. And they can't grow out of it. They can't do anything about it. All they can do is try and just be a cheap copy of you, just try and mimic you. Try and just be the way that you are. Or just put on an act a little bit. And when they do it, it's so exaggerated. It's like they try and put on such a show. And they just look so foolish. They look so stupid. Once you're aware of it, it's just like, well, what are you doing? What are you trying to be? Because then you know, that's not really you. You're just doing that to fool people. And they just look so stupid. It's just attention seeking. But this is what they do. And it's really sad. It's really pathetic. But yeah, you get around them and they will leech off you. They're parasites. They will leech off your brain, your energy, your power. They will leech off everything you've got because they just haven't got it. They haven't developed it. They're just empty people. They're empty vessels. There's nothing there. And of course, that's why they target you, because they see you've got so much life, so much love, so much energy, so much enthusiasm. You have the ability to get things done, to make things happen. They haven't got that. They've got nothing. They're just fake, empty, lifeless people. All they can do is take from you. All that's going to happen when you're around them, they're going to deplete you. And yeah, you spend enough time around them, all that happens is you lose your sense of self, you lose your self-awareness, you forget about self-care, self-love, you begin just focusing on them, because they deprive you of that, they take it away from you, they get you to just focus that on them. And that's how you'll find wherever I go, a lot of people suddenly show up. Like, this was a very quiet area, now suddenly there's people everywhere. And, you may see it, you may hear it, if you pay attention on my videos, live videos, short videos, whatever video it is that I've made, that I've put up on YouTube or TikTok, you'll always hear the sirens in the background, the horns, anything to distract me, to get my attention. You see people just randomly just waving their arms everywhere. And a common thing that they like to do now is, I must see, on average, probably at least 10, sometimes 50 men a day. As soon as they see me, they'll just start waving their arms. And then gradually they wave their arms lower. And then they just start doing this with their hands. Or they just bend over in front of me. It's always something sexual. just anything to get my attention. But it always seems to be that way. It always reverts back to sex with them. And funny enough, I explored this deeper, and Sat Franklin did a video about this recently, just a few weeks ago. He spoke about how at the core of it, the root of a narcissist behavior is envy. And especially for a sadist, what it comes down to really is their sex drive. They're driven by their sex drive. That's what makes them want to harm you. To the point where they may even just withhold sex from you as a punishment, which even then is driven by their sex drive. So that's the root of their behavior. And I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. Why they're driven in that way. But yeah, all I'm doing is just trying to avoid these people as much as I can. But that's the thing, they're the predator, you're the prey. They're the ones who are going to be chasing after you, harassing you. They're the ones who need you to harness your energy, to steal your life force, because that's what they don't have. But they may also manipulate you and try to lure you in so that they can keep getting that from you. And of course, once they've deprived you of your power, your energy, your authenticity, your self-awareness, you're going to be looking for it. You're going to be trying to get it back. You're going to be looking for someone to give you their self. And that's when they'll show up again, acting like they've changed to get more out of you. And they're going to keep coming until you've got nothing left. They're like animals, they're just not people. They're more like reptiles rather than people. They're not fully developed. They have an irrational emotional development, and that's why they do the things that they do, because their emotional needs were not fulfilled as a child. And that's what separates us between them. But what you've got to understand is that it doesn't matter how many times they come back, it doesn't matter how many times they hoover you, they are not going to be any good for you. You are going to be good for them. You fuel their disorder. Initially, temporarily, you can sustain them. Long term, it is self-destructive for them, those types of behaviors. And even short term, it just creates an addiction for them. It doesn't make it better, it just makes them crave that rush, that dopamine hit again and again. They're going to find other avenues to get it if it's not through you. But you've got to accept that there's nothing in them. They have nothing to give. They have no self. They're trying to get that self from you. They want you to give them yourself. But also, because they have no self of their own, they have to trick you into giving that to them. Now that's what you've got to identify and realize, that you've just got to come back to yourself. Or just be around people who do have a self, who do have an identity, who can validate you, who can see you. Because these types of people, narcissists who have a void, who are self-absorbed, exploitative, and lack an empathy, all they can do is take from you, and the best you'll ever get from them is an illusion. So that's what you've got to realize when they come back, when they hoover you. And there is nothing that you can do for them. You can't save them, can't help them. They need lifelong intensive therapy. That's what they need. And there is no cure for their disorder. They can only manage the behaviors, the exploitative behaviors, through lifelong therapy, because their emotional needs were not met as a child. But yeah, you can't do anything about them, you can't help them. There's nothing you can do for them, you just got to leave them alone. Let them figure it out on their own. Most likely they won't. But whether they do or they don't, it's not your responsibility. You're not their parent, you're not their caretaker. Yes, subconsciously they do view you as their mother, as Sam Vakinin has spoken about in his dual mothership theory. They do view you as their parent, as their mother, and because of the role that you were given as a child, where your narcissistic parent treated you as their parent, you view them as your children. And that's why you're trying to validate them, you're trying to take care of them, soothe them, you're trying to give them what they need. So if they view you as their mother, you view them as maybe as your parent, but then also as a child. So that's how this dynamic plays out. Only problem is they're not a child. You can't help them. Yes, they have an arrested emotional development, but it's too late. You know, they're children in adult bodies. They're not going to listen. They don't want to change. They don't want to be better. You can't discipline them. So, you know, they need therapy. Lifelong, intensive therapy. There's nothing that you can do for them. Doesn't matter if they hoover you. Doesn't matter if they come back, they love bomb you. Doesn't matter what they do. Doesn't matter if they play the victim. Doesn't matter what the problem is. You cannot fix them. You can't. They're only going to come around you for supply. And they just live off supply. You know, they never have anything real or authentic. It's just things to help them to get by in life. They're always just getting by. They're always in survival mode. They're always just trying to stay afloat. They're always just bored, depressed, miserable, just seeking attention, entertainment, amusement, and that's just their life. So you just gotta let them go, just and you just carry on, you just come back to yourself, you can feel good again. They're gonna come around you again because they're always gonna be stuck that way. They're always gonna be miserable, they're always gonna be anxious, depressed, and they're always gonna try and find some way out of it. They'll try any trick in the book, whatever they think will work to get your attention. But it's never going to be anything real, it's never going to be anything sustainable because they have no self, they have no identity. So, I'd just like to finish on that note. And great to see, 138 minutes in, we still have 92 live viewers. Incredible. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. I hope you appreciate my abundance of energy in this video. Giving it to you raw and uncut on Christmas Day. Giving you 138 minutes of my time. I hope you appreciate it, just as I appreciate you as well on this day. Thank you for your support. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Donations are greatly appreciated. If you'd like to give me a little Christmas present, you can donate to my PayPal. It's paypal.me/Narc Survivor. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Click on notifications so that you will be notified when I go live again. If you'd like to book a one-on-one, just go to my website. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Narc Survivor YouTube. And now I'm going to get something to eat and go back to my room and work on the next video that will be up within the next 7 to 10 hours. So that will be the Christmas Day video, but the Christmas special, I already uploaded that one. Thank you for the donation, Linda. I appreciate it. Thank you all for your support, and I will talk to you soon.